शलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। नमः ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमती भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणी निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पश्चात्य देशतारिणी। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। सो आज का जो संदेश है, इट इज एक्चुअली लाइक ए कंक्लूजन. So I'll try to mix Hindi and English here, so you can also be beneficial, and I am also trying to learn Hindi. With your permission, Prabhu, whatever Hindi I know, I will try to speak. तो आज का जो संदेश है एक कंक्लूजन संदेश होगा. सो हम देख रहे हैं कि लास्ट 4 वीक से हम मन के बारे में एक्चुअली देख रहे हैं. क्या है मन, कैसे इसको नियंत्रण करना है, कैसे हम इससे विमुक्त पा सकते हैं, ये सभी देख रहे हैं. तो in the first week we actually saw the Lord actually describing about mind. Prabhupada also tells it is very very important that you should know what you are. Like if you see in the Bhagavad Gita also, Bhagavad Gita में जो भी first instruction है वो instruction है कि dehinosmin yata dehan, sorry, dehinosmin yata deha. Within this deha there is another body is also there, and you are eternal. भगवान बोलते हैं कि आप you are permanent, ऐसे भगवान बोलते हैं. So then only you can actually work towards it. So similarly we have to know about our mind, then only we can work in achieving or controlling the mind, and if you know the purpose only, then we can go towards it. Otherwise it doesn't make sense. If you are reading for something, if you want to become a doctor, you should actually take science as a core subject. If you don't want to become, if you don't know what is your goal, then what subject you are going to take, it doesn't matter. So ऐसे ही अब हम मन के बारे में जा रहे हैं, इसका कंक्लूजन के लिए कंक्लूजन में आ रहे हैं. So पहले वार में हमने देखा था कि मन कैसा होता है. मन ही है जो हमें विमुक्त भी कर सकता है और जो हमें गिरा भी सकता है. So ये संदेश भगवान ने दिया था. और भगवान ने बोला था कि दूसरे वर्ष में भगवान ने बोला था कि ये मन को अगर नियंत्रण करेंगे तो ये मन हमारा मित्र बन जाएगा. नहीं तो हम इस मन को हम कंट्रोल नहीं कर सकते हैं तो ये भी शत्रु भी बन जाएगा. सो मित्र भी यही बन सकता है, शत्रु भी यही बन सकता है. So why Lord is telling like that? If you are able to conquer the mind, it will become a friend. If you are not able to conquer the mind, it will become an enemy. Right? Lord is telling like that. And but then last week we saw how Arjuna put practical question. So just like we wanted to ask somebody, Prabhu, every week you are coming, you are saying something and going, Prabhu, but is it all really possible? We are in so much of trouble in this material world. It is very nice to speak, but is it practically possible? So Krishna again has put Arjuna very nicely, smartly to actually ask our questions. तो इसीलिए अर्जुन आते हैं हमें प्रतिरूप करके और वो पूछते हैं कि कृष्णा आप तो बता दिया को मन को ऐसा करना है, पर ये पॉसिबल है क्या? मन तो इतना चंचल है, ये तो it is flickering, it is actually agitating, it doesn't stay in one place, it is just like a wind. You can even control a wind, but you cannot control a man. Right? Arjuna is actually putting this question and asking Krishna, is it really possible? Be practical. Don't say all the theories are okay, but putting it in practice is very very difficult. So Arjuna is asking these questions. So let us see what Lord is actually saying in the verse 6.35. So I'll read it for you. Shri Bhagavan Vacha. Then he says, Asamshayam Mahabhavo. So Krishna is saying, Asamshayam Mahabhavo Mano Dumigraham Chalam. So he's saying, oh, Arjuna, whatever you are saying, I accept it. I accept completely that whatever you are saying is actually correct. This mind is very, very difficult to control. I accept that. So Lord has accepted. Yes, we are in trouble. But again, Lord is now giving the answer. He's coming to the solution part now. Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grihyate. So Krishna is here putting this point, but it is not impossible. See, it is difficult. I understand that you have been put into this situation. But if you can practice and then with suitable practice and then detaching yourself, अगर हम सीधे तरह से अभ्यास करेंगे और detachment, what do you say in Hindi? I don't know.
Vairagya.
Vairagya. So if that vairagya is there,
अनासक्ति
आसक्ति नहीं होना है, किसी विषय पर आसक्ति, ज्यादा आसक्ति नहीं होना है, तो अगर आप सीधे तरह से प्रैक्टिस कर सकते हैं and you become detached, by detachment it is possible. But what is this practice and what is this detachment? So Prabhupada very nicely says, what is this practice actually Krishna is talking about? Krishna has nicely put one word, practice, but what practice should I do? And how can I actually become detached? Is it easy to become detached? We are so much attached to our family, so much attached to our profession, so much attached to our children, so much attached to so many movies, heroines. There is no big list of attachment actually goes. So how can we become really detached? By practice. What practice? So Prabhupada gives a very, very nice purport on this this thing. So Prabhupada says, see, Arjuna gave a problem and Krishna is accepting it. Yes, this is a problem. I accept that mind is a problem. But he's giving a solution also. So what is this practice? We should understand, Prabhupada says. So Prabhupada says, in the current situation, practicing like the so-called Ashtanga Yoga, going to a secluded place, then detaching the mind, controlling your senses, and then focusing the mind on the super soul, and then observing celibacy, remaining alone. All these are very, very difficult to be done. So the best way to do is by practicing Krishna consciousness. And what do you mean by practicing Krishna consciousness? Krishna consciousness means doing devotional service. And what is that devotional service? Navavida Bhakti. So 9 process of devotional service we have. And Prabhupada says, out of this 9 process, the first and the foremost. So what is that first process that we do in the devotional service? Is Shravanam, right? And this is the most strongest of all the devotional service. The first and the foremost is the very, very strongest. Shravanam, hearing. Hearing about whom? Hearing about Krishna. So when this process is done, Prabhupada says, this is very, very powerful and transcendental. Why Prabhupada is saying like this? He says this is powerful and transcendental because by hearing more and more about Krishna, your mind is actually purged. In English, Prabhupada uses this word purge. Purge means you have abstained from undesired thoughts, unwanted thoughts. जो भी आपका मन में विषय आता है, इसको नियंत्रण करना, और not even नियंत्रण. It is actually like saying in Hindi what they say, like जो भी unrequired thoughts are there that comes into the mind. It is actually when you are hearing more about Krishna, that hearing about Krishna will actually abstain your mind from unwanted things that comes into your mind. So Prabhupada says, just by hearing this. So the more and more हम ज्यादा से ज्यादा कृष्ण का बारे में जब हम सुनेंगे तो ज्यादा will become more and more enlightened, right? So the more and more we become enlightened, we become detached from our mind actually naturally becomes detached from the material things. So slowly, when this practice becomes more serious of hearing about the Krishna Katha, slowly this detachment automatically comes. And then this detachment, when it becomes more and more and more, then this vairagya comes. Vairagya means actually detaching from the matter and attaching to the spirit. Prabhupada says, vairagya means detaching from matter and attaching to the spirit. And how does vairagya come? Through practice. And what is that practice? Practice means hearing about Krishna Katha. More and more you hear, automatically the detachment will come. So that is what Prabhupada says. And Prabhupada puts one another important point. He says this is very, very practical. Just your mind has to hear about Krishna, right? It is very, very easy. What more simplest form can Lord Krishna give you in this particular Kali Yuga? Just about hearing the pastimes of Krishna. We have natural attraction for hearing, right? So you can see, like especially at home, at office, you are so much interested about the gossips. What is happening in the office? What is happening to my neighbor? What is happening in the serial? Right? Even in the serials, when you see the end of the serial happens with some incident, and the result is actually taken to the next next session. Why? To create that interest on us, what is going to happen. So this, by nature, we have this interest of hearing. So that has to be transformed to hearing about Krishna. And Krishna says, and Prabhupada says that when we become more and more attached to hearing about Krishna, then one automatically becomes attached to the Supreme Spirit. And this attachment is called as Pareshanu Bhava. So Prabhupada says this attachment to Krishna is called as Pareshanu Bhava. So what is this Pareshanu Bhava? Prabhupada says this Pareshanu Bhava is like a hungry man. So when a hungry man is actually fed, suppose you are having Ekadeshi, and then especially during Janmashtami, you will feel the whole day we will do Ekadeshi, full complete fasting, Nirjal, and next day again Prabhupada's fasting, half a day we have to do. And then again at the end of the half a day, you are presented with a big plate of feast. Like how you feel like a hungry man when they are given this food, even a morsel of food, it's so tasty for him. Doesn't matter even if you don't put salt. Like generally, when people are very much hungry, you serve them with a hot food. You don't put any masala also, they will feel it is very, very tasty. It becomes so tasteful. So this is the feeling Prabhupada says. This Pareshanu Bhava is like that. We are all like a hungry man, and we are actually detached from spiritual things. So when more and more we become attached to hearing about Krishna, then what happens is क्या होगा, ये परेशानु भाव आपको फील सकते हैं. जैसे कोई व्यक्ति बहुत क्या होता है, he is very very hungry for food, and you supply him with the food, then he becomes naturally so much thankful to you. He becomes very, very thankful to you. And Prabhupada says this material thing is like a disease, and this disease can be treated by an expert treatment and a good diet. So we have not only hearing about Katha, but also we have very palatable prasadam also. So by taking expert, you can cure this disease of any disease by expert treatment and by expert diet, by following a good diet. So this is what Prabhupada says. So similarly, this so-called material disease, ये भौतिक जो व्याधि है, इसको कैसा क्योर कर सकते हैं? By having an expert treatment. So that treatment is hearing about Krishna, and then following a good diet, and that good diet is actually having prasadam offered to Lord. Offered to the Lord, the boga offered to the Lord becomes prasada. And when we do these things, naturally this detachment will come to us. So most of the time, people, devotees ask, Prabhu, how can we actually become detached from our children? How can we do this, that? So even Prabhu this week was speaking about renunciation. What is really renunciation? Possessing something and then giving it up. That is real renunciation. So here Krishna is giving us a practical answer. Just by practice, you will get this vairagya. So we have to only practice, and our simple job is actually to hear about Krishna. And ISKCON has made a very, very wonderful, given us a wonderful opportunity for that. They are creating centers where devotees are coming, so that senior devotees are coming. We can just hear from them, and they are giving nice prasadam also. So what more we want, right? Akanda, like one Prabhu, I like this, like they say ISKCON is meant for like Akanda bhajan and Akanda bhojan. Nicely hear, do the bhajan, and nicely have prasadam. So just by doing this, you will become free from this material world, and you can always chant and always be happy. So very, very simple formula. Just we have to adapt it. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Vaji. Thank you very much. The final message, I loved it. Be happy always.
Yes.